Hi there, it's Lena Garza from A La Cards, and today I have a lovely fall project to show you. This one uses a technique that some may think is actually bleaching, but it's not. It's a little bit different. We're not going to use bleach. I personally can't stand the smell of bleach. I don't want it in my craft room. I only use it when I absolutely have to, but this technique does not use bleach. So I'm going to show you how to create this cool sort of ghost-like image of the leaf on a sponge background using something other than bleach. So stay tuned, I will show you what it is. Okay, so let's get started on learning this cool technique. So we're going to start with a piece of Whisper White cardstock. I'm using a piece that is 3 1/4 inches wide by 4 inches tall. And then I need to start with some crushed curry ink. Okay, so I'm going to take my crushed curry and my sponge dauber, and I'm going to put a little bit of yellow, vibrant curry yellow ink down onto my cardstock. Okay, just a little bit. You'll notice that I'm not putting that yellow patch right in the center. That's on purpose. I kind of like the look of it being offset a little bit. Next, I'm going to take some Cajun Craze ink, and I'm going to add a little bit of Cajun Craze around that curry area. Now again, I'm not doing this in a perfect little circle because I don't want it to look so perfect and designed. Okay, I kind of want these colors to just sort of blend. Okay, you'll also notice I'm overlapping the curry area. Okay. Next, I'm going to go dark. I'm going to take some early espresso cardstock, or early espresso ink rather, and my dauber. And I'm going to add a little bit of a shadow down in this lower corner. Okay, I'm not doing a whole lot of the dark. If you want it to be darker, you certainly can, but I just wanted a little hint of a shadow. Okay, that's all I'm doing with the early espresso. Next, I'm going to take some cherry cobbler ink, rich red, and I'm going to fill in the rest of the white space, and I'm going to go over top of that early espresso that I just put down. And what you're going to find when you blend over top of that with the red is that it becomes more a burgundy. It's not so much a brown as a dark burgundy, and it gives you yet another sort of shade in this panel of color that we're putting down. So again, I'm overlapping the edges of the other areas so that those colors blend really nicely. I'm just going to kind of pull a little bit down into here. There we go. All right, almost done. Before I do any stamping, I'm going to add a little bit more crushed curry ink. So I'm going back to the yellow. I'm taking my dauber. I'm going to start in the middle where I had that crushed curry down, and now I'm going to pull that color out and blend over across the whole panel. Okay, and you're going to find that that just blends all of those colors so that it's almost impossible to tell where one color ends and the next one starts. Okay, so there's my panel. That's almost pretty enough to put on a card as it is. But we're not done. All right, so now the magic. Now, I mentioned that we were going to do some stamping and we were going to get a bleach effect, but we weren't going to use bleach. So what's the secret ingredient? Well, the secret ingredient is Stampin Mist. Now, this is a really old bottle of Stampin Mist. You can barely read it anymore. It's been refilled about 1,000,000 times, but this is an indispensable tool, not only for cleaning your stamps, but also to do some really cool techniques. So for this particular project, I used the maple leaf. I'm Canadian. I like maple leaves. And we are using the Vintage Leaves stamp set. So that maple leaf stamp is from the Vintage Leaves set. Has 6 different leaf images. Great for fall cards that just look gorgeous. So I'm taking my maple leaf and I'm going to spritz the stamp using Stampin Mist. Now, I'm not going to do this on camera because I don't want to get my work area all soaking wet with mist. So I'm going to move away from the camera and I'm going to spritz it 3 or 4 times, and I'll show you about how wet it needs to be. Okay, so you can see it's pretty damp. All right, it's as though I were going to go and clean this stamp, but before I wipe it dry, I'm going to place it onto my sponge panel. So here I go. I'm going to place it on there, and I'm going to let it sit there for a minute or so. Well, maybe not a minute, a few seconds, to let that mist soak into the paper. And when I remove it, you're going to see that leaf image start to appear. Now, it needs to dry completely before we can do anything more with it. And because I'm not a patient crafter, I'm going to grab my heat tool and speed up the process a little bit. So here we go. Isn't that cool? I love how soft and almost ghost-like that leaf looks. The mist just gives a very soft impression of the image. I find with bleach, it sometimes is a little too stark, and who wants the smell of bleach in their craft room? It reminds me of housework, and I don't want to think about housework when I'm crafting. So I much prefer using Stampin' Mist, and I love the look that it provides. Now, to finish the project that I did, I'll bring in the finished card again, and I'll just talk a little bit more about that. So here's my panel, right? I added some gold spatters. My very favorite go-to stamp set, fixes every mistake and adds a little something to every project, is Gorgeous Grunge. If you do not own this stamp set yet, you need to. You need to stop what you're doing right now and go and order it. It is a fantastic stamp set. These splatter images, I can't tell you how many times I use them, like daily. These images add great texture for various projects. I can't say enough how much I love this stamp set. So for this particular project, I wanted really subtle spatters. So I used the smaller spatter image, stamped it several times on my panel using Versamark, and then heat embossed in gold. Okay, and I just love that look. It just gives, oh, just love it. Then I wanted to add a sentiment. So for this particular one, I used another new stamp set from the annual catalog. It's called Endless Thanks. Okay, it has lots of different combinations, both sort of that handwriting font and a more text based font that combine really well to make all sorts of different sentiments. So I just used the thankful image, which I also heat embossed in gold. Okay, and I stamped it right over top of my ghosted leaf. All right. Once I had that finished, I matted it on a piece of gold foil sheet that I cut just slightly larger. So if you'll recall, this was 3 1/4 by 4. So my mat I cut to 3 3/8 by 4 1/8. And that just gives me a narrow gold border, which just makes all of that gold detail on the panel pop. Now, because this is such a beautiful technique and gives such a wow, I didn't want to do anything else on my card to take away from that. So I kept the rest of my card really simple. I took an early Espresso cardstock panel and I ran it through the Big Shot with my Woodgrain embossing folder, and then adhered that to an early Espresso card base. Really, really basic card, but such a wow and a really cool and easy technique. Thanks for watching this video. If you've enjoyed it, please share. Bye-bye.